on a cruise ship can be confusing for a first timer that's never sailed before because there are a lot of misconceptions about what a cruise is all about. You don't have to go very far to run into one of the often repeated myths that exist about what a cruise is like. Many of these are rooted in experiences from decades ago and others are just plain wrong. And suffice to say, quite a lot has changed in the cruise industry. Cruise ships have gotten larger and more sophisticated. Moreover, they've evolved past the generation of ships that many people remember. Part of the issue is in many cases, pop culture continues to portray cruise ships as if it's still the 1990s. Stereotypes are hard to break, and it perpetuates a certain expectation many people have that have never cruised before when they think about imagining a cruise vacation. It's been my experience that so many tropes about a cruise are outdated and misinformed preconceived notions that are quickly dispelled once you look into what the reality is truly like. People that have cruised many times would be the first to tell you that a cruise vacation can vary greatly depending on the line that you choose, the cruise ship that you pick, time of year, and a variety of other factors. It's no different than if you were to take a trip to New York City. Not every vacation to New York is the same kind of experience. Before you write off a cruise vacation, though, I wanted to give the top 10 most commonly cited myths about a cruise and why they're plain wrong. Number 1, I'll get seasick. We begin with a misconception that actually has some truth to it, in that while it's possible you could get seasick on a cruise, it's unlikely and easily preventable. I've taken over 70 cruises, and I've been on a few occasions got seasick. It's not ideal, but when it happens, there are easy ways to combat it. First, you could prevent seasickness from occurring in the first place. You could take over-the-counter medication like Dramamine or Bonine once a day to ensure that symptoms never begin. When I started cruising, I always followed this regimen, and it always worked. These days, I don't take it preemptively, but if I do get queasy during the cruise, I'll pop one of the pills and very quickly start feeling normal again. Another option is to ask your doctor for a patch that goes behind your ear that you'll wear throughout the cruise. It's another easy way to ensure you never get seasick. There are a variety of homeopathic strategies as well, such as ginger pills, eating green apples, peppermint, and even wristbands. The reality is, while you could get seasick on a cruise, the chances are pretty low, especially if sea conditions are not terrible. A cruise ship is far more stable than a fishing boat that you may have been on, and it takes a lot more to get these ships swaying. If you talk to people that cruise a lot, they'll tell you in most cases you cannot notice the ship moving at all, and that instances of motion sickness are pretty low overall. Number 2, only old people take cruises. There's an old saying that people that go on cruises are, quote, the nearly dead and the newly wed, and it's a stereotype that comes from cruising in the 1970s and the 1980s. Cruise ships have evolved from ocean liners, and in those days, the only people that could really afford to cruise were older people. It was expensive and took a great deal of time, which is something that families don't have a lot of. Fast forward to the 1990s, and the cruise industry begins its pivot towards the family cruise market. Cruise ships become bigger and offer more to do than ever before. With more ships comes more inventory, and that helps lower prices. More on high prices a little bit later in this video. Family cruise travel really took off in the 2000s, and you'll find a great mix of ages on the mainstream cruise lines, such as Royal Caribbean. On an average Royal Caribbean cruise, you'll find guests of all ages, toddlers, school-age kids, teens, adults, and of course seniors and everyone else in between. You get a good mix of people, so it never feels like one demographic dominates the ship. In fact, Royal Caribbean designs its cruise ships to have something for millennials, baby boomers, Gen Xers, and Gen Z. It's meant to provide a little of everything, and you get to decide what appeals to you. Royal Caribbean ships have kids clubs and areas of the ship designed specifically for kids and teens in mind. Their new Icon of the Seas cruise ship has an entire area of the ship reserved just for young families. Will there be retirees on board? Absolutely, but you will also find lots of other people of many ages and probably way more young people than you thought were going to be there. Next on my list of cruise misconceptions is that you'll feel claustrophobic on board. In my experience, the top 2 reasons people have resisted going on a cruise is the fear of getting seasick, which we talked about already, and the feeling they'll feel trapped on board. It's difficult to convey here in a video, but cruise ships are much bigger than you think. It's one thing to see a video here or a photo of a ship, but when you see them in person, you realize just how massive these ships are. There are public decks and spaces you can go to, and I think you'll find the ship more like a city than a cramped space. From shows to restaurants to the pools, it's more likely you will not feel stuck at all. If you're worried that you'll feel claustrophobic on a ship, You should understand there are so many things to do on board and many places to go. Moreover, your ship will visit plenty of ports along the way, giving you an opportunity to get off the ship and explore those countries. With plenty of open deck space, it's easy to avoid that closed-in feeling. Something else that gets repeated a lot is that cruises are too expensive. Whether based in the old days of cruising or an assumption from seeing the glitzy new ships out there, the idea that taking a cruise is expensive is truly incorrect. A cruise vacation remains one of the best values in travel when compared to taking a land vacation. Just like a land trip, prices will vary depending on a variety of factors. But when you consider a cruise includes not just a hotel room, but food, entertainment, and a means of which to get you to different ports for one price, it's a pretty good value. No matter your budget, there is a cruise you can afford. There are cheap inside rooms on short weekend cruises, lavish suites, and plenty in the middle as well. Throughout the year, there are different cruises you can take, and in general, a Royal Caribbean cruise is quite affordable. While there are pricey cruises out there, especially over holidays, bargain value still exists on many ships. The beauty of Royal Caribbean having 27 ships in their fleet is that there's likely something for everyone, and with a little research and flexibility, I'm certain you can find something in your price range. Now, like all mass market cruise lines, Royal Caribbean offers a module cruise experience. Your cruise fare gets you on board with a certain set of amenities included, and then it's up to you if you want to spend more to get a drink package, shore excursion, Wi-Fi, or some other extra. Similar to a land vacation, you can take a cruise on the cheap or splurge with an over-the-top vacation. It's just important to remember a cruise is not inherently expensive. Next up, you'll be bored on a cruise. Similar to the concern I talked about earlier about feeling trapped on a ship, many people worry there isn't enough to do and they'll be bored. I think this myth comes from the imagery of people sitting by the pool and enjoying a sunny day. Sure, that looks great, but what else is there to do besides sleep, eat, and hang out by the pool? The answer is much more than you ever thought possible. Cruise ships offer a myriad of activities and onboard entertainment. There's water slides, rock climbing, zip lines, ice skating, trivia, shopping, cooking demonstrations, dance parties, shows, and much more. If you look at a past schedule of activities from any Royal Caribbean cruise ship, you'll see an example of just how much there is to do in the morning, afternoon, and evening. One thing Royal Caribbean does better than many other lines is keep the fun going well into the evening. Royal Caribbean has full Broadway shows on some of its ships. This includes Mamma Mia, Cats, Saturday Night Fever, and more. Other ships feature a Broadway-style musical review and dance performances. All the shows on any Royal Caribbean ship are included in your cruise fare. There are movies shown throughout the day and evening by the pool deck, karaoke to sing to, gambling in the casino, silent discos, DJs, live bands, and guitarists. Royal Caribbean likes to compare itself to Las Vegas in terms of entertainment, and you'll find quite a lot of entertainment to keep you busy. Most people that take a cruise will tell you there's simply more to do than they can possibly handle in just one sailing. It's why so many people cruise over and over again. Another big myth out there is that you have to get dressed up on your cruise. While dress codes do exist on Royal Caribbean cruise ships, they're minimal and barely enforced. Think of them as suggestions rather than hard and fast rules. There's no dress code for what to wear around the ship other than shoes and a cover-up for a restaurant. It's really the dining venues that have rules about what you can wear, and in practice, these are less stringent than you might think. The main dining room has a daily dress code, and specialty restaurants have their own dress code. Regardless, you don't have to look like you're wearing the same clothes you wore to your senior prom in order to go to one of these restaurants. Royal Caribbean's dress codes act more as guidelines than rules, and you will see most passengers wearing a fairly casual clothing to meals. For breakfast and lunch, there's really nothing more expected than just not a bathing suit. At dinner, there's a different expectation, but some passengers wear shorts while others get more dressed up. Most guys will probably wear jeans or slacks with a collared shirt. Ladies are usually seen in a cocktail dress, blouse and jeans, or something else casual. If you prefer to skip a sit-down meal altogether, there's a buffet and other casual restaurants you can go to and grab something quick to eat. At the very least, you will not have to get dressed up if you don't want to. There are a lot of options for meals, and outside of restaurants, there are no dress codes to adhere to on Royal Caribbean. Something else that gets perpetuated a lot, unfortunately, is the myth that bad things always happen on cruise ships. If you watch the news, you think there's always someone quote-unquote falling off a ship, power outages, fires, some other calamity. Unfortunately, the reality of the safety of cruise travel is completely misconstrued by the mainstream media in so many examples. Let me be clear. Statistically, cruising is a very safe vacation. No one falls off a cruise ship unless they're doing something they're not supposed to or are somewhere they're not supposed to be, such as getting on top of a railing. Cruise ships are regularly inspected by the US Coast Guard and other maritime agencies of other countries. Plus, every cruise ship has its own team of engineers and mechanics to keep the ships working properly. Crew members drill on every sailing to ensure they know what to do in case of an emergency. When you go on a cruise, you'll see this in action likely when your ship is docked in port. Ships have fire doors, watertight sections, sprinklers, smoke alarms, and firefighters to deal with any issue. Have there been incidents on cruise ships? Of course. Just like there have been airplanes or buses that have crashed, they're the exceptions, not the norm. So ignore what you see in the news. They're harboring on, quite frankly, clickbait to get you to watch. The reality is it's a very safe experience overall. Then, of course, there's the fear of having to eat with strangers. And I don't blame you if you're not interested in having meals with other people you have no idea who they are. It's your vacation, and the last thing you want is an awkward meal with rando people. Today's big ships have lots of flexibility, so you don't have to eat with strangers if you don't want to. If you choose to eat at any specialty restaurant or casual dining venue, you will only eat with your own party with the exception of hibachi specialty dining, and to be fair, it's like that on land too. Royal Caribbean also offers My Time dining, where you can eat in the main dining room on your schedule and be seated with just your group. Cruisers who choose this format can head to the dinner at any time within the set hours to get a table by themselves or with a group if they like. The traditional dining option in the main dining room could seat you with someone else you don't know. This is the option where you have dinner every night at the same time with the same table and waitstaff. You can request a table to yourselves for traditional dining by requesting it before the cruise. If you're booked in traditional dining, you should contact Royal Caribbean prior to your cruise. Send a request to rcldining@rccl.com about 2 to 3 weeks prior to your sailing with your request. This strategy usually works for most people. Then there's the myth that you can't eat healthy on a cruise. Eating healthy on a cruise ship is far from an oxymoron. Rather, it's a state of mind that is definitely achievable with the right kind of planning and a little motivation. Being on vacation is an excuse for some people to indulge more than they would at home, and you will find no shortage of sweet and savory foods. Ultimately, it's up to you how healthy you eat on a cruise because there are plenty of healthy choices and ways to control portion sizes. While cruises are well known for their amazing indulgences, there are just as many good for you choices too, but no one really writes articles about those, I'll be honest with you. Every menu has healthier choices you can order, in addition to salad bars, made-to-order cooking stations, and of course, vegan and vegetarian options. Just like any restaurant you go to near your home, there are healthy and not so healthy choices you can order. But if you want to avoid gaining weight and eat smart, you will find those options as well. And then there's the last myth on my list here, which is that cruising isn't real travel. The myth that cruising doesn't provide an immersive or compelling experience like land travel does is simply a case of snobbish opinions within the travel industry. You'll find authentic experiences in the places your ship visits that don't visit the typical tourist spots. The cruise line will provide as many shore excursions as possible that cover a variety of things to do, including the tacky and adventurous. Plus, you don't have to take a cruise line excursion at all. You could get off the ship and explore on your own and discover your own off-the-beaten-path spot. Some cruises offer overnight visits, but most have enough time to get you a taste of what the city or town that you visit has to offer. A cruise is what you make of it, and the same is true of the places you visit on land. You could choose to see the top tourist spot in town or hop on a bus and visit the local market. It's an open-ended choice and offers as much cultural immersion as you'd like. So there you have it, the biggest misconceptions people have about a cruise before sailing. Let me know in the comments below, did you ever believe any of these and what was the reality of it? And if you haven't cruised before, let me know what's holding you back. Is it one of these myths or a different misconception? I'd love to help you address it in the comments below. While you're below our video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications. That way, YouTube lets you know we have a brand new video to share. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and we'll talk again real soon.